I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Julia Davis, and this is the Growth and Grit podcast. Today, I'm sharing the top 10 mistakes I made while running my business in the first decade of owning and operating my own company. I've covered 1 through 5 in past episodes, so if you missed those, go back and grab them. They're 3 to 5 minutes long, and the topics are in the title, so you can really see if that's something that you're having a hard time with. Go back and click subscribe to get more, but if you missed the last 5, they're in the archives, so go back and look. Today, I'm talking about mistake number 6 that I made, which was not sharing my story. I think sometimes we feel maybe embarrassed or too vulnerable to share like why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it and what motivates us. And I think that this is a big mistake that people make, is because the more relatable you are and the more people know you, the more likely they are to be with you long term. So I think if you're somebody who's naturally very guarded, like I was, it was really hard for me to open up and share what motivation I had for running a business and why I was motivated to go out there and work side by side with my people, and why I chose to drive a 1996 Chevy instead of a brand new car, and like why I was saving money and what was motivating for me and what my goals were. I think I just kind of like assumed people would figure it out, but in reality, like people don't. And I think if you're running a business that has employees or a staff of any type, it's really important for the person leading that group to share who they are and where they came from and what their goals are and what their vision is for the future and why they're choosing to work hard and what's going on with their life. And the structure that I would use for this is like, where you came from first. Like, this is how I grew up. This is what I thought when I was, younger. This is what motivated me to run my own business. And then these were all the challenges I ran into when I first started figuring it out. And this was my motivation to get through those challenges and why I was motivated. And these are some personal stories from what I saw in other industries or how I grew up or parents or friends or whatever it is. Share some of that information so that people can really get to know who you are, and then move into, what your goals are for the future and what you want to accomplish, by running a company, and why you're motivated to work hard and what that means for your life, and why you've chosen to go down the path less traveled, which is very, very hard, which is running a company or leading teams or being responsible for employees or whatever it is, or developing product or whatever you're doing. But I think a lot of times I've seen just people be embarrassed or nervous or worried about sharing who they are and where they came from. And if that's you, I really encourage you to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at julia.bizstories and send me a DM, and I will work with you and we'll come up with a way to present your story, your unique story, to your people, because I really do think that that's a huge game changer. And it was for me, and people could relate. And after I shared, why I was motivated to run a company and why I wanted financial stability and why it was important for me to have income on my own, I would always have people come up to me afterwards and thank me for sharing it, but also just relate on a human level and be like, you know what, that was me too. And I really related to your story. And I feel the same way as you do. And sometimes I think we just get too formalized, where we just run meetings and we're so corporate and we're so, numbers driven and all the things, that we take the human aspect out of it, when in reality, you are a person and you have to be willing to share who you are with your team so that they can really relate to your experience. And, I just really encourage you to do that. And if you need help with it, or you're like, gosh, it's so awkward. Yes, it is. And the first 10 times you do it are going to be miserable. And you're going to have to like choke your way through it, because it's just like awkward to talk about yourself in front of your team. But the more you do it, and I would say do it once a month, after that first year of 12 times in doing it, you're going to feel like very natural having that conversation. But there's only one way to start, which is like getting out there and actually talking. So if you need help, please find me on Instagram. I will help you develop your story and figure out how to present it in a way that maybe isn't too TMI, but enough to share who you are and where you came from. I've done this a lot with people. So If you need some coaching on this, I will do it with you for free. So just find me on and figure that out, and you'll find me on there and I will help you. But I can't express enough, like, this is something that I was dragging my feet on for my first several months. And ironically, I would get a lot of negative reviews, in my business. People would be like, she works 12 hours a day and she drives this kind of car and she does this. It was just because they didn't really know me. They didn't know why I was doing any of that stuff. It didn't make any sense, right? If I was running the business and making good money, why would I drive a 96 Chevy Cavalier? Why would I work at the pace I was working? Why would I be there at 6 a.m. in the morning? Like, none of it made sense because nobody knew me. And so when I started running my story, those negatives severely declined because people understood why it was important for me to save money, why it was important for me to hit goals, why it was important for me to stay in touch with what was going on in the sales teams. And then once they understood that, then people were like, hey, I didn't like the job, but I really did like her. And the only way to do that is by sharing. So I really hope this helps you. And this is a mistake you can for sure avoid by just getting out there and doing it. And I know it's easier said than done, but if you need help, find me on Instagram and I can help you. And we'll set up an hour-long Zoom and we'll go through your story and make sure you're comfortable and we can practice it. So I hope you have a great day and thanks so much for tuning in. And if you missed any of the past mistakes, they're all logged prior. I've done one per week. So feel free to check out the other ones and maybe there's another one that resonates with you. Thanks so much for being on. Have a great day. Every week on the Growth and Grit podcast, we bring you real stories and practical tools to help you thrive through challenges. If this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with someone who could use it too. It only takes a second, but it would mean the world to us, and it keeps you plugged in to fresh inspiration.